This week we're in Manchester with Emma Zillmann of From the Fields.
This is Anyone Can Play Guitar, the podcast for musicians and music lovers that takes you behind the scenes of the music industry. This week is brought to you in partnership with MGR Music. Ever wanted to learn an instrument, hone your skills, or pick up something completely new? You can get so far by yourself, however professional guidance can make all the difference. With a network of tutors right across the UK and rates starting from as little as £15 per hour, visit mgrmusic.com now to get started.
Hello and welcome to episode 62 with our interview with Emma Zillmann, with me Ben and him
James. I preferred your first take of saying hello.
I might leave it in, maybe at the end. People can play it all the way to the end to hear it.
A hello goodbye.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, someone did well with that.
They did.
Right, who did we have last week, Ben?
So last week was Tyler Salkowski of State Champs.
Full of beans.
Full of beans.
I would upload how to play our songs because, quite frankly, people don't play them right. And the worst thing that people do is like they convince themselves that they play. I used to do it too when I was young. I play along my favorite band. It's like no, that's definitely it. Yeah. I'm like, that's not it at all.
Fuck you, Tom DeLonge. That's how you play
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Like I'm telling you, man, that's dumpweed. It's like, no, it's not, man.
This time we're in a very, very, very warm Manchester office with Emma Zillmann of From.
Well, the office wasn't that warm. I remember the office being fairly temperate.
Was it? I just remember everything about it.
It was hot as balls outside.
Hot as balls? My word, yes it was.
That's a fact.
It is a fact. Yeah, some more facts about Emma, James. She is currently working for From the Fields, who are the company that put on Kendal Calling, which is the first festival that we went to for this company.
And the first festival I went to that served real ale.
Yes, good point.
That was a big feature for me. Having all of my previous festival experiences to that point had all been generic.
Lager.
Yeah, lager and cider.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing fancy to speak of.
Yeah.
To then be able to get a nice proper beer at a festival. Game changer.
Game changer, yeah. They also do Bluedot, which came a little bit after Kendal Calling, and Off the Record in Manchester, which is like a showcase for the new bands.
I thought you were going to tell me something secretive there.
No. She also...
Are you going on the record, telling people about Off the Record?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Right, good.
She also puts together the Manchester Podfest, in brackets, still waiting for an invite. The Everybody Love Lizzo Club Night, and she manages the band Plastic Mermaids. But most importantly, James, she literally is the person who booked Jarvis Cocker last year for Bluedot. The literal person. So, yes, she is well in the music world. I don't want to say behind camera because there's no cameras, but it's like behind the camera, behind the scenes, festivals, managing bands, discovering bands. So if you want to find Emma online, if anything that piques your interest with this interview, you can find her on Twitter and Instagram, both the same at Zillfrau, which is Zillfrau. Or if you want to go directly to Kendal Calling and Bluedot, both on Twitter and Instagram with the same handles, at Kendal Calling and at Bluedot.
A few thank yous again for this week, Ben.
Yeah. Thanks for Emma herself. We pretty much set up the interview directly with Emma, but we got to use the From the Fields office space, which was nice. And I believe it's Ben and Andy who are the creators of From the Fields. So thank you to Ben and Andy for letting them use their space and taking the picture that is on our website. And always, obviously, thank you again, Emma, for booking Jarvis Cocker. So here we go, Emma Zillmann.
Remember, a great way to support the show is to go on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating and a review. It really does make a massive difference for the show. Now, on with the episode.
very, very warm Manchester afternoon.
Yeah, sorry if it gets warm in here. There's a fan there. So.
Oh, cool. To Emma Zillmann from the fields.
From the fields. We really regret calling it that.
Yeah. So, just for anyone listening, we are going to talk about primarily festivals today and the whole world of festivals. But before we start, do you want to just introduce yourself, a bit about you and a bit about the company you work for and what you do?
Sure. From the fields, we're a festival promoter based in Manchester. There's 10 of us in the office now, I think, full time. I'm the programming director, so I'm responsible for all of the music programming across the events that we do. We don't just do music camping festivals, we also do the sort of creative production for a festival down in Bournemouth called Bournemouth Arts by the Sea. And then we've also got Kendal Calling, which is up in Cumbria. That's 25,000 people. And this year we have, this will be a good test, Hacienda Classical, Catfish in the Bottle Bin, The Libertines, and Run TMC headlining. Mm-hmm. Next week we have Bluedot, which is going into its third year now. It's 12,000 people, and this year we have Chemical Brothers headlining, alongside Flaming Lips and Future Islands. And we also run a music industry conference and showcase for emerging artists festival in the Northern Quarter in Manchester in November. Cool. So we're just starting to plan that as well.
Right, so you're planning that now for November?
Yeah, we've already announced. I don't choose the lineup for that one. It's chosen by music industry curators. So we've announced who those people are. So I'm just collecting their submissions now to put it into a lineup.
That's good.
Yeah.
What we'll probably do is we'll definitely cover that as well later.
Yeah, I think it's quite relevant.
Yeah. So as program director, what do you do? What does your day look like?
It's a lot of emails, a lot of the time. It's more like what the year looks like.
Right.
That's more of a difference for me, because this time of year is very different to how it's going to look in a couple of months. We're already talking about next year now. It doesn't normally start this early. I think everybody's panicking a bit. But normally I'll go and spend a few weeks in London in September, meet all the booking agents, just one after another for literally a few weeks. And they will take me through their rosters, talk about who's available, who's coming back with new music, who's going to be out, who's not going to be out. And then I can take all of that information, go away, digest it all, work out how we want our lineups to look, put together some sort of dream situation that will completely change by Christmas. And then we start placing offers on the headliners then, once we have a bit of an idea of where we could go with it. And that's, in conjunction with everybody in the office, we all sit down and talk about lineups. It would be a terrible festival if it was all the bands that I wanted to book.
Well, it wouldn't be for you.
It wouldn't be for me, but no one would come, probably.
So booking agents the main place to go to get bands, or is there other sort of avenues that you explore to get people on?
So there are other avenues. I actually enjoy finding new bands, so I'll go to a lot of gigs and actively try and find new music and listen to recommendations from my friends or other promoters, or I keep an eye on the music industry press. But the booking agents are the filter, if you like. They are there. If a band's got an agent, it's probably because they've got a label and a manager and there's other things going on, and you kind of know it's a sort of a safe bet that they're going to be doing things in the next year or 2 years or really progressing. So that's what I call them. They're a filter. Yeah, they kind of do, because there's thousands and thousands of applications and people wanting to play. So there's only a finite amount of hours in the day that I can actually process all of that. So that's where booking agents come in handy. But I do say to new artists that are just starting out, don't chase booking agents, let them come to you. If you're doing well and there's something happening for you, they'll find you. That's their job. They are scouts. They have to be on things before anyone else. Often a band will have a booking agent before they have anything else in place. And a good booking agent will then help you with strategy and be able to put you in touch with all of the other parts of the team. So yeah.
So when you said about your, how do you describe it, dream festival, do you start with the headliners first and then work down, or is it just a case of, I just don't know what a case of, how does it work?
Yeah, so definitely top down, which is scary because you might spend 3 months sorting out those top ones and then not able to move forward with anything else until you've locked them in. And the reason for that is just purely financial. If you need to, if your headliner wants to confirm it, but they need an X amount of extra fee, you don't want to be like, oh, well, I've spent the rest of my budget, I can't have you now.
Yeah.
You want to be able to be like, oh yeah, okay, we'll take from the rest of the budget because it's worth it to get those headliners.
And is that top-down approach also a bit, so I'm thinking you wouldn't sort the rest of the lineup out until you know, right, well, this particular band who are this style are going to be playing on the Saturday, and therefore we want similar sort of acts sort of supporting or on the same day, is it?
Yeah, I'd say at Kendal that's actually the opposite, that I try and make it quite varied in terms of genre, but for Bluedot certainly I do try and get the artists to complement each other a bit. If musically it's really not working, I can always maybe move it around, and that is a consideration, but also it's a festival, so I think people are understanding. I think we had Snoop Dogg into the Kaiser Chiefs once and Brian Wilson into the Editors or something, maybe the other way around. So it's kind of like, you know, is it Bugsy Malone into Shed 7 this year? Something like that. So I just think if there's, you know, there's a long enough changeover that people are going to have a good time at one and then a good time at the next and not really think too much about how it's feeding into it musically. Yeah,
we did see Shed 7, then Dizzy Rascal. So
did you? So there you go.
Yeah,
that seems quite similar. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you work primarily on Kendal, or both?
Kendal's just the biggest, so it takes up a lot more time. I don't book all of the stages at Kendal. There's about 14 stages, but I oversee the people that do. So there's a lot of back and forth and liaising with the dance booker or like the Chai Waller stage or Tim Peaks. So, but Bluedot is about half the number of stages, less than actually, and I do almost all of that myself. So yeah, I think Kendal just takes up the most time because it's the biggest.
That was my next question. Is it how many people work on a particular festival? It sounds like a lot.
Yeah, they do. In terms of programming, it's just me. In terms of, we've got like 3 marketing staff, 2 operations staff, 2 creative staff, 2 directors. So, yeah.
So aside from the amount of people that come and the amount of bands that play, what's the main differences between putting on the bigger festivals and maybe smaller ones?
Do you mean the difference between Kendal and Bluedot?
Yeah, just in terms of arranging those things.
I guess it's quite site specific. If you're talking about those 2 festivals, or any festivals actually, it's very site specific. Kendal Calling is held in a deer park and there's no infrastructure there whatsoever. We do have one wooden permanent stage. Yeah. That's it. So turning up there is like we're building a town in the middle of this deer park for 6 weeks or whatever it is. Whereas Bluedot's a visitor centre, it's at Jodrell Bank Observatory, so there's already roads there and, you know, a visitor centre and exhibition centres and kind of... Right, yeah. So it's a lot easier. And running water and things like that you take for granted.
Yeah. So if we look at Kendal for a second, how many bands, at the top of your head, I'm not putting you on the spot yet, play Kendal?
I have no idea what the exact amount is, but I think it's somewhere between 350 and 400, maybe a bit less.
That's quite a lot. That's a lot of coordination.
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah. So, again, I'm not putting you on the spot, but I'm going to guess, how many of those slots are for new and emerging artists? Unsigned or otherwise?
I'd say the majority.
Really?
Yeah. Most of the artists that we book don't have agents or labels or management.
And was that always a conscious choice from the start? Was Ben and Andy that set it up originally?
Yeah,
is that right?
Ben and Andy set it up originally. Andy's always done all the bookings. I don't know if it's so much as of a conscious choice. There's a lot about Kendal that's to do with supporting local talent, and that's definitely always been something that the festivals worked hard at. So maybe because of that, a lot of the stages are booked by different partners.
So if James and I will go back in time now, and we were in our band, still doing what we were doing, and we were ready for the step up to festivals, because I imagine it is a step up for a band to go from the local pub to the festival stage.
Yeah.
It sounds different and everything.
Yeah.
How would I go about that? Just to get on your radar.
I think my advice to new bands is always start local, so contact your local festivals. I'm a lot more likely to book a band or an artist that's from Cumbria than I am a band that's the same sort of level from Brighton, just because they're closer and more of their friends will come and see them and they'll talk about it in the sort of local town, and that's important for us. So yeah, start local, contact your local festivals. There'll be at least one, like, fairly big sized festival near you that's pretty established. And if not, contact all the smaller ones. And what's another bit of good advice? But work on building your own following up. If things are happening, if people are coming to see you and you're gigging and people are turning up, then the right people will hear about it. That's my advice, really.
I'm wondering, when you were talking about sort of going through booking agents, there's almost an element of de-risking it for you, in the sense that we played with loads of bands who are really unreliable, and you don't want a whole roster of people that, well, are they actually going to turn up? Are they going to be professional? Are they going to put on a good show? All the rest of it.
Yeah. I mean, there is that as well. I'd like to say I'm 90% certain that everyone turning up will put on a good show if I've done my research properly. I don't think I've booked anyone terrible. But the booking agents do de-risk it slightly in terms of, I think it goes back to what I was saying before, they just have a bit more of a professional operation, maybe if they've got a manager and a press person and somebody to take care of. If we ask them to post about the festival, someone's actually going to do it rather than being left with the band. But yeah, it's not hard to get on the good side of a festival. If you are a small band and you are dealing with them directly, there's lots of do's and don'ts.
This week is brought to you in partnership with MGR Music. Ever wanted to learn an instrument, hone your skills, or pick up something completely new? You can get so far by yourself, however professional guidance can make all the difference. With a network of tutors right across the UK and rates starting from as little as £15 per hour, visit mgrmusic.com now to get started.
It's time for our regular good cause slot. This week, naturally, it is Emma's choice.
But definitely come to that part of the episode where we talk about charity or good cause of the week that we would like, if you would like to highlight one in particular. Is anything specific?
Yeah, absolutely. So my director Andy and his brother Jamie, who have both been running Kendal Calling for the last 14 years, their grandmother was heavily involved with the guide dogs. So Kendal Calling sponsor a guide dog, or we have done for the last 2 years. And we have guide dog collection tins on site as well. And they come and visit us in the office, and it's great. So yeah, that would be the charity that I'd say to support. It's guidedogs.org.uk, and you can donate there.
I was going to ask that question in a second, but just before I do that, so if you were, let's just say, maybe not us, but just a new band, you've been going for 6 months, you haven't thought about booking agents, you haven't thought about managers, but you are outstanding.
Yeah.
You would still be considered. If just
totally.
CD CD.
Yeah.
If a piece of music.
I don't actually have a CD player. Fun story. Yeah. I have no way to listen to CDs anymore. But I call it like a 3-pronged attack sometimes. Like if I have read about a band somewhere, I read so much stuff about so much music. So I might have seen, a press release somewhere or like an article in a blog. And then 2 weeks later, somebody said to me, I saw this band play and they were really good. And it was the same band. And then maybe one of my other friends has been like, have you heard about this band? You should listen to this song. And it's the same band. That's when I'm going to be like, oh, right, shit, I should probably do something because this band's clearly doing something. That makes me sound like I'm really lazy, but there is honestly so much music to get through. Like you need those filters to kind of work for you. Otherwise I would probably explode. But I'd say other festival bookers might hate me for saying this, but I'd say definitely try and find a personal email for not a personal email, a work email for the bookers, or some other way of getting in touch with them, because I get lots of emails from bands and I will always listen to it, and occasionally I will book them. And if they email me at the right time, what happened the other day, someone had literally just pulled out. The next email into my inbox was this band who have played before a few times, and it was just like getting to that crunch time of having to do the programme, and this band had pulled out, and then I got this email and I thought, you know what, I know them, they've played before, they know the festival, they love it, it'll make their day, bam, 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 do you want to play? Done. And then I don't have to think about it anymore. And I was like, and I know it's not risky for me because they've been before.
But that makes sense. It's like just a bit about right.
It is a lot about timing, which is annoying because there's no real right time. It's just when the right time is for the booker. But
even the other bit, if you've seen one good thing about something, every band could have had a one-off thing.
I hate that in bios and emails when they're like, we've had a premiere on Clash. It's like my grandma could get a premiere on Clash. You don't really. It's good. It's really good, and for a new band that haven't done anything like that before, it might be really exciting for them. But you need the ongoing momentum, and really, as a booker, what I'm looking for is 300 people turned up to see us play last month. I don't really mind about how many hits on Facebook you've got. It's more about friends on Facebook, or streams. Again, it's like sometimes booking agents even try and pitch a band to me by saying, they've had 50 million streams. I'm like, but who's buying a ticket to see them? Is anybody coming? No. Okay, well.
Yeah, you're not selling the streams, are you?
No.
Yeah. How do you almost verify some of these things? Because I could easily see some bands out there who just come with this amazing resume saying they've done all this stuff and all the rest of it. How do you sort of pull the real the reality and sort of go, you know what, they've said they've played to 300 people last week, but have they?
It's a very good point. I don't verify it. I guess if
it's hard, right?
If there was an example like that and it pricked my ears up, then maybe I'd do a bit more research into it. And if you're a band that knows what they're doing, you'd have pictures of that 300 person room, people having a good time and maybe a live video, and then once somebody does start doing some research into you, they'll find all the things that they need to book you.
I've actually got the same question twice here.
Okay,
bear with us. So if I was in a band and we pricked your attention, what are the do's and don'ts to get on to it? We kind of discussed it already, but it was it was 2 or 3 do's and 2 or 3 don'ts to either turn you on to it or turn you off to it. What would they be?
Be polite. Don't get angry if for whatever reason they can't book you. That's happened before. Not just bands either, managers as well. Just keep doing your thing and don't try and get too bogged down in we need to get a booking agent, we need to get a manager, we need to get a label. It's just be good. Just be good, get fans, and you'll get fans by being good. Don't send CDs. That's just a personal thing though. I always feel really bad because some people have these really beautifully crafted.
Spent lots of money on it.
Spent loads of money on it.
Beautiful product, which is useless.
Please just send me a link. Have a good live video. If you are sending an email direct to a booker, I'd say keep it very short and sweet. All I want to know is what you've been doing in the last 6 months, a link to your music, a link to a live video, and what you're planning to do for the next 6 months.
So when you see a live video, what makes you think, ooh, I like them, versus, oh, not a chance?
That's a really hard question, because I guess it comes down to personal taste in some ways. I guess you just want to make sure that they, probably if it's Kendal, probably just that they're really upbeat and like are good for a party and the crowd are enjoying themselves, if it's that kind of live video. For Bluedot, maybe it's a bit different. I want to watch the live video because they might have some visuals, or if it's a producer or an electronic artist, you want to see what their setup looks like. So if it looks particularly impressive, then that might be quite a good thing. Obviously, it's all about what the music actually sounds like, but people are going to a festival to be entertained, so you want to have a good show as well.
Cool. So my other question, which is the exact same one. So if we were lucky enough to be on the lineup, what are the do's and don'ts at the festival? So once we rock up.
It's pretty much the same ones. Be polite. What bands I think sometimes either don't know or maybe forget is that the stage managers and artist liaison staff are often trying to get a foot into the music, or already have a foot into the music industry themselves. They will go from show to show to show and might be like repping shows for promoters in their city, or they'll be talking to people all the time. If you're nice to them and you're good and the tent's full, they're going to tell someone about it. I've had our stage managers recommend bands to me all the time. Oh, who was that band you booked? They really packed it out and they were so lovely and can't wait to see them again. That does make a difference. Just be nice to people. Don't take the piss.
Frank Turner said something similar. He said, just don't be a dick.
Yeah, don't be a dick. Exactly.
And Catherine Williams said that as well.
It's a common theme for a lot of artists. Yeah.
It's amazing in the music.
So simple, right?
Yeah, but it's amazing how far you can get just by people getting on with you.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of competition, so would you rather work with that new band who are arseholes or that new band who are lovely?
Yeah, to be fair, that kind of worked for us, didn't it? We were always nice to the sound person.
Sound person's very important.
Because they can make you sound very poor. We didn't need much help for that. Jim, do anything else festival-wise?
No, that's...
Cool, because I'm just checking the time there. I don't want to take too much of it up. So, showcase. If you could explain the showcase in a minute to someone who has no idea what it is. How would you do that?
It's a multi-venue music industry conference in Manchester's Northern Quarter. And there is an emerging artist showcase in the evening as well.
Okay.
That's not really a minute, is it?
Doesn't have to be a minute. That's all.
So there used to be one called In the City. It was a conference and showcase festival. It kind of started back in the day when the internet wasn't as prevalent as maybe it is now. So they used to keep the lineup secret, and A&Rs, and it was when Universal had an office up here as well. And A&Rs would have to come up from London to find out who these hot new bands were. They were chosen by music industry people, as well as a kind of judging panel who picked from submissions. So In the City, the last one was in 2011, and myself and my director Andy, we met at a music industry conference in Brighton called Great Escape, and he met his business partner at a conference in Cumbria. So I think we kind of felt like conferences are important, and Manchester's probably one of the best places for live music in the country. Why don't we have one anymore? So we thought we'd start one. The artists are chosen by curators, so we also don't announce the lineup until just before the festival. And yeah, it's worked quite well. There's a conference during the day covering all sorts of topics. All the music colleges from around the region tend to have a presence there, and we do it in partnership with Sound City. So they've obviously got loads of experience running their own conference and festival. The last 2 years have been really good. It's really small.
Who are the different types of people who come to it, and why?
It's a real mix of kind of grassroots, more amateur people looking to further their careers in music, whether that's like managers or people running labels or musicians themselves. Then there's the student side of it, so BIM and LIPA and those kind of colleges that are more music focused, who are looking at it from a more business side. And then there's more established professionals who maybe they're speaking on a panel or something, and they'll be up there for the 2 days.
I'm sure Paul Smith mentioned that. I'm sure, or Johnny Higgs mentioned that. One of the, I didn't ever know Maximo Park definitely played one of these.
Oh really?
Back in the day.
They must have done it in the city.
In the city, yeah. I'm sure it was Maximo.
Yeah, well, Coldplay got signed in the city. That's how the story goes.
It's all about the story.
Yeah.
So the curators, the panel, can you say who they are? How can you get in touch with
so we've
them?
announced them already. They are, so everything are on board this year. They're going to be curating a whole lineup at one of the venues rather than just having one band on at the festival. So that's great. They're very passionate about supporting new artists, and
we know one of them. Just saying.
You know one of them, yeah. So yeah, everything, and then we've got people like Rob DeBank or Hugh Stevens, Abby McCarthy. There's a writer from the Enemy called Tom Smith, another writer called Rasheen from the Independent. There's also a few more artists this year. So the Oriels, Fickle Friends, Jessica Hoop's going to do it. So yeah, it's a bit of a mix, but kind of more like media and artist focused. Just people that care about new bands, basically.
Yeah, sounds pretty. Yeah, right up our street. So
Generator are one as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they're based in the northeast.
Yeah, they're based in Clooney, aren't they? Yeah.
Well, it's actually the tipping point part of Generator that submit artists. Yeah.
Cool. I don't know what to say about that one. That's really that captures everything.
Yeah.
So then the end game could be getting signed. If that's what you want.
Yeah. I mean, I manage a band and I've been managing them for 2 years and they've been going for about 6 years, and we've just signed a record deal for their first album.
That's cool.
So I think it can take quite a long time. Maybe don't have any preconceptions about that. But you do see artists having meteoric rise, but I think they're the exception to the rule.
Yeah,
most of the time.
The faster they go down sometimes as well. I'm sure Kasabian took 10 years before even Clubfoot came out.
Yeah, I think Catfish and the Bottom have been going for like 8 or 9 years.
Yeah,
they only just got there. Yeah.
Well, another very good episode there. We both love festivals.
Yeah, we had the festival special, which was great. This is a bit more around the bits, because MF obviously was heavily involved in that episode, but this is like a full interview, which has got even more great stuff in there on how she gets bands like yours.
Yes, it's in some ways a lot of really simple things to get on the radar of someone like Emma if you want to be playing festivals, but
the main thing is, from what I got from Emma, is be good.
Yes, there is that. Be good, which
Well,
is easier said than done, but then there is more to it in terms of what would catch her eye, what would get on her radar, how that actually happens.
And what I mean by be good is like make it look like your fans enjoy you. It doesn't matter if you've got 1 million Instagram fans. It's probably better that you've got 300 people loving your music live.
Yeah, massively, because that's what she's in the game of.
Exactly.
She's not in the download streaming game, she's in the getting people to come to a festival game.
So thank you again, Emma, for your time, and if you want to get in touch as a listener of the show with your festival memories, get in touch on Twitter at ACPG Podcast or Instagram ACPG_podcast, and we would love to hear from you and some of the exploits you've got up to at festivals.
I remember finding a tractor one year at V. I believe I was out of bounds.
I think I mentioned that in my best man speech of yours, James, as festival hide and seek.
Yeah.
Which I did not know I was playing because I was fast asleep.
I don't think I knew either.
But the good people at Bulmer's did.
Good times. Right.
Who we got next week?
Yeah.
Oh,
I tell you, we have Sam Duckworth, aka Get Cape, Wear Cape, Fly.
Yeah, and this was a great interview.
Very good interview. Here's a bit of Sam.
I probably wouldn't be called Get Cape, Wear Cape, Fly if I started, to be honest with you. Like, the amount of times I've had to say it and repeat myself. And I don't know, it's difficult because I always wonder whether the name dates or not. And I think that loads of people that are in bands would love to change their band name.
All of the show notes for today's episode can be found at acpgmusic.com, along with our back catalogue of episodes. If you like what you hear, or perhaps have some improvements or specific guests you'd like us to consider, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at info@acpgmusic.com or hit us up on social media. Keep supporting upcoming artists, and we'll catch you next time.
Hello and welcome to episode 62.
Hello!